In Corporita Bonanza, with Hanan Awaad, we will talk about several topics, and we will meet successful people and experts in many fields to learn about their success stories and learn from them how to empower ourselves and stimulate our creativity. We will also review important books that enriched our lives. This program is for you, whether you are an employee or searching for your next big opportunity, or managing a business, or a student, or a parent. I'm Hanan Awaad. The world is my canvas, and success is my paint. Connect with me and my guests at president@corporita.ca. In Corporita Bonanza, we will learn from each other, and we will grow together. Thank you for tuning in. Today, in Corporita Bonanza, we have a special and dear guest, Brenda Halloran, the mayor of the City of Waterloo for 2 terms from 2006 to 2014. Thank you so much, Brenda, for being here.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here.
Okay, Brenda, I was reading a lot about your life. Oh my God, you had a rich and busy life. But what I noticed is that you started as a nurse, and then you moved to mediation and conflict resolution, and you had a wonderful and stable career, and then you decided to go to politics. What made you wanna take that step and go into this, arena?
Well, it wasn't something I planned to do all through my life. It was something that happened. And as you know, life happens and things change, and your life direction changes. So that's what happened to me. So I was a nurse my first career, and I got into the air freight transportation sector and the international trade sector for many years. And then I became an employee of Revenue Canada. So I always ask people, don't hate me for that. And through it, I was there for 16 years. And through it, I had very many different opportunities for trying out new career paths. And my last one there was as a conflict resolution specialist and a mediator for the federal government. Yeah. But during that time, I was involved in a very major community situation called the Royal Green Homeowner Association. And we ended up finding out that our houses were built on a contaminated landfill site. And we ended up fighting local government, fighting the City of Kitchener for our homes and for our health and for our children. And so that put me into the area of being a community activist, which I hadn't expected at that time. I was a single mother. I was working 3 jobs. I wasn't really expecting to become a community activist, but my home was under attack. My daughter was sick. My neighbors and I were in trouble financially. Yeah. So we ended up fighting the City of Kitchener, and that put me in a position of seeing what it was like to be involved in the community on a different level and fighting for our rights and fighting for our families. So that was from 1994 up until I became the mayor. I was involved in that. In 2006, when the municipal election came around, I felt it was the right timing. And I felt, well, I've been on the outside pushing for change to City Hall. It's time to get on the inside and see what I could do to change City Hall and help for the rights of people. So in 2006, I ran for mayor, and I shouldn't have won because I'd never been involved in politics before. And I had never done anything of that magnitude, but I believed in myself. I believed in what I was
and this is my question. So the other parties,
they were interested
the other mayor. So if you talk a little bit about the competition. So
when I decided to run in 2006, there were 2 gentlemen running, and one was the mayor of the time, and one was a returning mayor. So I was really a brand new face, and nobody had really heard about me except people in the community. And I think I had a bit of a reputation from being quite active in the Royal Green Homeowners Association. So it was an interesting time because I was, the local newspaper man used to call me Barbara Hall. They couldn't remember my name, and I was kind of shunned. I wasn't given a lot of media attention. It was the two gentlemen, because they're quite well known in the community. So I just kept building my team, and we did a lot of hard work. We did the hard work of door knocking and going to thousands of houses, and I had a different plan for Waterloo, a different vision, and I think that it was resonating with people when I started talking about the youth, the students, issues affecting families and community, and I had a different vision than what the other two gentlemen had. So it was quite an exciting time, and I won by over 50% of the vote. So
wow, yeah,
we did a good job, and I was very blessed to have a lot of people helping me out.
Yeah, and we are blessed to have you. And I think being the mayor of this major city, an important city in our region, put the region on the map of being an intelligent community, the smartest city in Canada. And I believe we are fast growing and taking the path to be the Canadian Silicon Valley. But frankly speaking, at the same time, I can see lots of issues in our community. For example, the rise in hate crimes, and hate incidents, the increase in underemployment, polarization in incomes, mental health issues, bullying at school, homelessness. The list is long. So what is missing? What's still missing in our community, and we need to work on it?
Those are all great points, and it is very concerning to see a rise in a lot of these issues. But I think, they've always been here, and I think the reason why we're hearing more about them is that people are feeling more confident talking about them and reporting them, and we have a lot more agencies that are working on these issues. So I think we've always had hate crimes and bullying, but it has never been reported as much as it is now. And what it is doing is bringing a very large social awareness of the problems that exist in our community.
I see.
And I think that we are, I've been working in it for years, and I see that there have been a lot of changes made. I can address it right from when I first became mayor with the university students. We had a lot of issues with them, a lot of behavioral issues, and nobody was really working on it. And we all started banding together and working together. And for a while there, it seemed like all we did was deal with university student issues. But that was because we were paying attention to it and reporting on it and getting everybody involved. And I've seen a huge change in the culture here, that we don't see as many university student issues of, a lot of drinking and partying and problems there. But the one thing that is rising now is a rising rate of suicide issues with our university students, which is very concerning.
Yeah.
So we always have a lot of work to do. Every community does, but I think we have the social services and the strength of our community in place to deal with a lot of this. And luckily we are talking about it, because if you don't talk about it, it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah, but for citizens, how a citizen like me could be involved? What's our role? So you talked about reporting, so people became louder and more vocal in reporting incidents and things, but what's beyond this?
That's such a good question. So I believe that everybody has responsibility for their community, and you can get involved, or you can take a stand against bullying. If you see something happening, to say something, to not be a bystander, to teach your children the strength and the skills to deal with the things that they're dealing with. I think it's a lot of awareness about what does happen in our community, and not turning away from it, but to face it, and to mobilize your friends and neighbors, and maybe do neighborhood associations and watches, and getting out there and just knowing what's happening in the city streets. I see a lot of neighborhood associations are really working hard on issues of dealing with their teenage children who are doing some damage to property, and groups of them banding together every night because they're bored and they have nothing to do. I think we need probably to look at what is necessary to keep our children busy and engaged and feeling that they belong. So there has always been a talk in the last few years that people here have a decreasing sense of belonging, which I'm very troubled by. because we do a lot of work to make people engaged and involved, and there are so many great organizations and agencies doing this work.
And many services,
Many services.
Yeah, yesterday at the Rotary Club, we had some speaker from the public library, and the programs geared towards community and the community, the youth, are a lot.
Yes. But I often wonder if parents are tired, if parents are shifting some of the responsibility of parenting onto social organizations and doing things, and because they're tired, because they're on overdrive, and so I think it's a deeper social issue, that the busier parents are, the less time they have for their children, and I also think that dealing a lot with social media is causing a lot of problems for our children. It's causing a lot of stress, and bullying is rampant on social media. And I think sometimes parents need to be in charge of their children's social media, and taking away the phones, and having more family time, that put away all the technology, technology's great, but I think it's really affecting the fabric of family and society, that it's easy to say things and hide behind a screen and
fake names sometimes.
Yes. And I think parents need to really be aware of what's happening on their children's social media.
So let's shift from the social sector to the tech sector, or the knowledge sector. The question I'm going to ask you, I already asked to many experts, and the question is why we don't see lots of women in the tech sector. And the answers I heard usually refer to some systematic barriers, societal conditioning. But lately, I was talking to an expert and entrepreneur in the tech sector, and he told me simply because there is no interest. So women who have the interest in tech sector, they are already there. They are taking the steps to go into STEM education and all these things. So what's your opinion about this?
I think that's a bit too easy of an answer. I think we have to look at what are we teaching girls way back in grade school. And that's where the problems seem to start, is that girls don't feel that don't seem to have as much of an interest in math and science. But I think they do. I think there has a lot to do with our curriculum and how we're teaching children. And that girls don't think it's cool to be smart and to be in any type of math and science programs, because it's not considered cool. And I think that's where a lot of this stems from. So girls tend to meander off into a different type of educational path than the STEM programs. So that I think we have to look at going further back, and what are we doing to address encouraging girls to go to mathematics and science camps and get involved. So girls, I think, at an early age are really interested, but we lose them somewhere in the school system. And it's also cultural for girls, because it's not a cool thing to be. They're considered, you're a geek, you're a nerd if you're liking math and science. So I think this is really a deeply embedded cultural stigma in our societies, that girls don't see it as a cool thing to do. The women who do get through to university and keep pushing a path, they face some issues there. They face still a lot of discrimination. They face a lot of sexual harassment and a lot of just general harassment in their school classrooms, at university, and then of course in the workplace. So we know that there's an issue then. So they, the women who are interested, they get into programs at universities, and they are facing a lot of just silent bullying and problems there, which the universities need to address. And I hear this from women, because I've been involved in this field for a long time. They also are not getting the proper funding from venture capital funding. They're asked different questions here, treated in a different sexist manner. The questions that are asked about their funding profiles are different than what the men are asked. It's quite a significant problem. So it's not as easy as saying those that are there, just they got there. I hear from women, that they're not, they feel very not welcomed in accelerator and incubator centers. They are intimidated to walk through the doors, that they are not given the same opportunities and funding that men get. And we know this is a fact. I mean, this is being proven, and there are lots and lots of articles that prove this. So it's a widespread problem, and there are a lot of groups of women in tech who are talking about this. But the bottom line is, if you look at the innovation hubs, the incubator centers, the accelerators, I think that we need to look at, number one, who are their top ranking executives, and how many women are on there. Where's the 50% employment practices of hiring people to be in upper level executive positions in these organizations, on the board of directors, and the organizations and the tech companies who have women at the helm have a better representation of women throughout their organization. There was a recent poll done here in the region about how many women are in positions of at the executive C level, or even on the board of directors, or within their workplace, and the results are dismal. It's dismal. So we have a lot of work to do on that. We need the men who are in positions of power and authority to take stock and to look at how can we change this. Because women are there, women are ready to be brought up through the ranks, but without opportunities, it really, really is difficult. So there is a lot of issues to this.
It's very interesting. You know, I had my education in Egypt, and I was the only girl studying mechanical engineering at that year. And I believe I opened the door for another 3 women or girls to join later after I already opened the door. I worked in male-dominated fields, facilities all the time. Sometimes I'm the only woman at the table. And even the workplace is not designed to gear towards women needs. So these issues that we need to address. And you mentioned something about women in the executive level or the C level. Do you think that we need some sort of an organization to adopt this and try to create opportunities to work with big organizations, other organizations to crack this and create some opportunities for women?
You know, we do have a lot of organizations that are working on that issue now, but I think what really needs to happen is the government has got to step in and start making policies and stick to the policies. That any organization, especially that gets government funding, has to have 50-50 representation at their executive level and on their board of directors. And this is not being enforced. So the government has saying, both federal and provincial, that we want at least 40% representation by, I'm not sure if it's 2020. That's not good enough, and that's too long. And any type of organization that receives government funding, I think it has to be mandated that they prove that they have equal representation and gender diversity within their workplace. So there's a lot of frustration with women all over to get on board of directors. This is something I've been actively pursuing, and I know from being involved in many organizations that are promoting women on board of directors that it's a huge challenge, and those barriers are not coming down. And so there has to be further pressure from government to make the organizations change their board of director hiring practices, as well as their hiring of women in executive roles.
I think there are some success stories from some European countries, and those cases are well studied, and there are, huge examples, good examples in this. So we need to learn how to.
We certainly do, and we need men to help us, because I know that men aren't they're not the bad people.
No,
it's just the system, the way things are set up. And we need to just, I think, even get rid of looking at who's doing what, but to just look at how do we improve the opportunities for women in any organization, in any environment. And we still have a long ways to go, but we have made big inroads. And I always look at the positive side of things. So there's good things happening. And we are seeing change. I would like it to be faster. I think every woman would, but we are seeing things. But the also positive thing is that we're talking about it. It's a major issue. There's a lot of blogs being written about it and articles. And the proof is there, as you say, from other countries that are really pushing for equal representation, that government runs better, organizations run better when there's 50-50 representation. Because we both men and women have a lot to bring to the table and have different views, but we're able to find, I think, really positive outcomes having equal representation.
Yeah. So I want to be in the same theme, but in a different sector. So as we don't see lots of women in the tech sector, why we don't see lots of women in politics? And you shared with us how it started with you being a community activist, you know, fighting for transparency, for proper governance, and all these issues. So although we can see lots of women taking serious steps in this field, but do you think that we still need more? And why it is difficult for women to enter this arena?
It's a hard arena. Politics is very, very challenging, and you have to be ready for it because it really affects all aspects of your life. So when I became mayor, I really had not been aware of the amount of time needed, how much time would be taken from my family and my personal life. So that was a big challenge initially for me, and then and for my family, because I wasn't around a lot and we had to give up that family time. But I felt really dedicated and committed, and that it was important to me to get involved and step up because so many people had helped me and I wanted to get involved. But for women, it is really hard because we still have the traditional roles. Even though things are changing, we have a lot of traditional roles at home in raising the children, maintaining the house, and that's not going away either. And fortunately, men are embracing their responsibilities and knowing they have to, and that's a really, really great. But it's a hard life, and you have to be ready. You know, politics is a hard life for everybody because you are attacked by people. You have people who have high expectations and expect that you're going to change everything and make the world a better place. And as much as you try, there's only so much you can do within the system.
You are in the spotlight all the time.
All the time. And you're just one person in a big system. And for women, I think it is hard because there is a lot of backstabbing. There's a lot of negativity to it. You have to develop a very thick skin, and you have to not take things personal. And I was able to do that because I'd been in conflict management for so long, and I kind of understood how conflict works, and I wasn't I was able to deflect a lot of the negative criticism that was sent my way. We also are held to different standards than men are. We get criticized for the clothes we wear, our hair, crazy things, how old we are, what are we doing? Men are not asked, gee, how many times have you worn that suit? Or geez, you know, what color hair have you got? It's just, you wouldn't even consider that men are held to
or even
standards.
how much do you spend to do your hair?
Crazy things, right? So it's I think it just is off-putting for women. So I do work with every woman who has come to me and talk about politics. I will spend that time. So if there's women listening to this podcast right now, if you are interested or you have any questions, please don't hesitate to come and connect with me, and we'll meet for a coffee, because I would like to encourage women to step up. And I'll be honest, and I'll give you straight up answers, but I will support you in any way I can. And I think that we as women need to be that support. And what I found too is that it's very hard to raise the money to run a political campaign. Men have it much easier than women do.
We will come again to this raising money, but I don't want to lose this point, the mentorship. So we, as women, we are criticized that we have those cat fights and jealousy about some things, and although sometimes it happens, you know, you have seen it, I have seen it, but on the other side, lots of support, but mentoring It's not only saying, okay, we support you, but mentoring, giving the essence of the expertise and experience and the advices and being involved with your mentee.
You are so right. And I think that mentorship is the number one critical opportunity that women need to get involved in politics. If you go in it on your own, it's really, really hard.
Yeah. And it's a trial and error.
It is. Yeah. And you should always talk to somebody who's been through, because if you're running a political campaign, there are so many things to it that you really don't have any idea until you're in it. And we have a women's municipal campaign school. I went to it in 2006, and that's when I first got an idea of what it would be like to run a campaign. And I've been asked to speak at several now and share my experience so that women can learn from it. And again, I think it's really important that women who have experienced politics need to turn around and give a hand to the women who want to get involved as well, and support each other. And I must say, I didn't really get into a lot of catfights or name calling from women. I had more challenges from men, especially on my second campaign. I ran against 3 men who would do anything they could to backstab me.
Okay. Yeah.
But what I found was the more that they tried, the more I became very nice to them. I never sunk to that level. I was always very respectful and polite. And I think sometimes that gets overlooked, that people think you've got to fight back and drop to someone's level. But the famous Michelle Obama phrase now is, when they go low, we go high. And I found that to be very beneficial, especially in any career. I think women need to think that, never sink to the level of somebody trying to hurt you or offend you. Don't let them in.
And someone told me, if you keep your eyes on the ultimate goal, and you don't get consumed in side tracks and those side battles or something, you will reach the destination you are looking for.
You're absolutely right. I've spent years talking to children about, if I can do it, you can do it. And if it happened to me, it can happen to you. But I always say to children and to women and people I mentor, is that when I first decided to be mayor, and I knew I was going to win when I signed up, which people still find surprising, but people will do anything they can to stop you to find your dreams. And if you allow that to happen, then it's your fault. If you allow this negative chatter and people backstabbing you, that you say, oh yeah, okay, I'd say to people, put your blinders on and go straight. You know where you're going. You know what you want to attain, and that's what I did. So I would listen to the backstabbing or the people saying negative things to me, that I wasn't good enough to become the mayor. And I would take what I needed out of those conversations and think, okay, what do I need to change? What do I need to do? How can I grow from this? But I never took it in that, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough. I just took it in to better myself, if that makes sense. But I knew I was going to be the mayor, and that's where I was heading, and nobody could stop me.
So, you support lots of causes, and oh my God, you are so involved in the community, board member in many organizations, and you led other organizations, and there are your involvement with the Rotary Club and the Zonta Club, and oh my God, you are so busy. But one of the causes that I'm interested in, because it's somehow new to me, was human trafficking. Frankly speaking, the first time I heard about it, it was from you. You told me about it, and before that, I didn't know there is human trafficking, and there is human trafficking here in Canada, and there is human trafficking in our region.
Yes.
So I believe lots of people outside, they don't know what's human trafficking. Many of our audience, they don't know about human trafficking. So if we can talk a little bit about it.
Yes, thank you. When I was not aware of human trafficking myself till about 6 years ago. And when I was the mayor, this young woman, I read this book, and it was written by a woman who had escaped human trafficking. And I found out she was living here in Ontario, and at that time, she was living in Cambridge. So I contacted her. Her name's Tamea Nagy. And as the mayor, I said, I've just found out there's human trafficking, and you were involved in it, and can I help you? What can I do to help? And we set up a meeting. In the meantime, I spoke to one of our community police officers, because this was just at the time where universities students were coming back into town. And I asked him, I said, do we have human trafficking in Waterloo region? And he looked at me and said, I don't know. And the next day he called me and said, yes, we do. I've researched it. We have human trafficking. And one of the major areas that human traffickers hit is university students who are vulnerable and away from home. And there's a whole series of events that happen to get a
So
human
what's
trafficker.
human trafficking? For those who don't know what
So
it is.
human trafficking is when someone is basically owned by another person, and they are physically rented out to people to have sex, and it can be up to 20-30 men a day, and all the money that they earn is kept by the trafficker. They are virtual prisoners and are kept locked up into hotels and apartments and condos, and they have no freedom, no rights. They are completely ostracized and isolated from their families and the community. So they basically disappear from society and from their families and friends, and they are locked in a room and are subjected to having sex nonstop all the time. And quite often the traffickers brand them with tattoos, could be on their faces. They threaten them that they will kill them and their families if they leave. They become addicted to drugs. They don't allow them to sleep very often, so they're very exhausted. They don't feed them properly. Like it is sexual slavery, and it's here in our community. It's in Canada. It's one of the biggest global threats facing women in the world.
Oh my God, horrifying. But
It is.
what can we do about it? You know, I'm an outsider. I don't know. I was a student at the university doing my master's. I had some classes. I taught some classes, but beyond this, I don't know much.
Well, I think a lot of it is becoming aware that this is a problem, looking for the signs of it, reading articles and getting involved in the organizations that are combating human trafficking locally and globally. One of the big things that people can do is start paying attention to where traffickers have their victims, which hotels and motel chains are allowing it to happen, and knowing that it's happening, and writing letters or refusing to give them your business. Also to petition the police chief to write a letter to him, to send him an email. Our local police chief, Larkin, he's been working with myself and Tamea for a long time, and has been incredibly involved and incredibly active in this, and he's leading the charge here. He's put more police officers on it, but we do not have enough police. There are no social services for victims of human trafficking. So if the police are able to help a young woman escape, there's no safety houses, there's no social services. She has nothing. So we really need here to build safe houses for these women. They have to be taken out of the community where this is happening, because their traffickers will come after them. It's very dangerous. So at this stage, there is nowhere for a woman to go who has been rescued from being trafficked and to a safe home, and that's a huge issue. Lately, the provincial government has invested some money, but we've spent like 10 years talking about this, and we're still a long ways behind. So we need to make sure that the community is aware of it. Know that it's motels on Victoria Street here, in hotels and motels in Cambridge on Highway 24. It's all happening. We're a major thoroughfare. The 401 is a major thoroughfare for trafficking. These girls are driven up and down the 401. They're stripping. They're doing all sorts of things. It's a big issue. It's run by organized crime, but it's also a big issue. And people need to understand this is not women and girls from other countries. It's our Canadian girls. The majority, 80 to 90% of the human traffic victims are natural-born Canadian women. People seem to think it's from women who've come up from other countries, and they've been tricked, which absolutely is happening. But these are our girls, and a lot of young women are vulnerable. Traffickers go after.
They are, and some of them are university students, so
Yes.
they had, a brilliant future and
Yes.
and all these plans, and
They start as young as 10 and 12 years old to be trafficked.
oh my God.
They start very, very young, and it's boys as well who are being trafficked. They disappear from their families, and their families don't know. And there are a lot of, quite often, that they're runaways, or they're from families who have, their own issues.
Yeah.
But I think that one of the most vulnerable group of girls are girls from group homes who have lost their families, who have been thrown out, who are vulnerable, who just want to be loved. And traffickers know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
There are books written
Attract
about
them,
it.
yeah.
You can go on Craigslist and order videos on how to become a human trafficker. It's a massive, massive issue, and a lot of money involved. But I'm going to say something maybe that might offend people, but if we didn't have men who need to be serviced or think it's okay to go and have sex with a 10, 14-year-old little girl in a hotel, that's where the issue is.
Oh, that's sick.
It's sick, and we don't even talk about that. If the only reason why human trafficking is growing and is becoming a major
There's
issue
a demand.
is there's a demand.
Oh my God.
And
Oh
we
my
have to
God.
think about that. And I know of some things, I'm seeing things that are so troubling to me. So if there was not a market for prostitution or for human trafficking, then this wouldn't happen. So we really need to discuss as a community and as a society, why are men thinking it's okay to do this and to go to a hotel room knowing that there's a young woman who might be their daughter's age
Yeah.
and doing this. So yes, that might be a bit provocative, but it's the absolute truth.
Yeah. Oh my God. This is. I'm glad that I asked about this because of all the causes that you are involved. I'm not involved with this. I'm a little bit involved with homelessness, with some other causes, but this was shocking to me.
It is shocking.
And some of the articles that you sent me, I cried.
Yes.
I cried. So, okay, hopefully we gather and we do real things to fight these things. So let's change the tone a little bit, especially that we are reaching the end of our interview. But, I know you for a few years now, and I've read a lot about you. And oh boy, you are so busy. You are involved in so many things. You are a mother. You are expecting a grandchild, and you have your circle of friends and people. So, do you consider yourself have it all? Can women really have it all? We ask this question a lot as women, career women and busy women, and even moms who step away from the career life and become housewife or stay-at-home moms for a while. That some people say women cannot have it all. Some say yes, you can have it all, but you have to sacrifice something. So what's your opinion about this?
I think we put too much pressure on ourselves. I think the media puts terrible pressure on women
I love it.
to be this incredible, beautiful human being that does everything. And I think it's time to just say, let's stop that insanity and reflect on what we need to be happy, to celebrate all the joys in our life and all the positive things. And that to me is having it all. So I have it all. And it's my decision on what is having it all. It is nobody else's decision.
I love this. So you define what's all.
Yes.
Okay.
It's my definition of what's all for me. So right now, I think all my life I've had it all. And because to me, I've had some difficult experiences in my life, and I've been asked, well, how did you carry on? And I said, well, I would always say, instead of saying, poor me, why me? I'd always say, wow, that was quite an experience. What next?
Okay.
So I look at the what next with excitement and joy. And if it's tough, I'll deal with it. If it's joyous, it's incredible. So ladies, moms, women, friends, let's just relax a bit.
Yeah.
Put down your Facebook and your Twitter and Instagram accounts and look at your families and your friends. And instead of looking down at a screen, look up at the world and embrace it and say, if you think maybe I need a bit more, then go and find it and do it and make it yours. But we all have it all.
Yeah.
So just relax, accept, and do what you want to do, and be the star that you are, and shine your joy and beauty the way you want it to be, because it's, the bottom line of life, it's all about you. We only have ourselves and what we make out of life. It's our decision. And don't blame anybody else. Always look to yourself for your own strength and how you can make things change, how you can help others, and how you can be in love with yourself.
Yeah. Well, I love it. You mentioned that you ask yourself, what's next?
Yes.
And I'm asking you, what's next for Brenda?
I have a lot of things happening right now and a lot of opportunities. And right now, my what next is being a grandmother. And that's a new thing for me. And I want to be able to take this new joyous opportunity with my daughter and to be a grandma. But I still want to be out there changing the world and opening doors of opportunities for women and young girls, supporting, mentoring, helping young men make decisions. If my voice can be a voice in the community, I will continue to use it. So
please do.
Not all people feel that way.
No, please do.
I plan on that, and I think my what next is whatever life is going to allow me to do that I want to take on and embrace. So I have a lot of plans and a lot of things to still accomplish, and with my friends like you and amazing
you
women
so
and
much.
people in this community, we can all do great things together. And thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank
truly,
you
truly
so
honored.
much for being here with me at Corporita Bonanza. And oh my God, I enjoyed talking to you and opening up and listening to your story. And this is the gold nuggets that I was digging for.
Well, I hope I gave you some golden nuggets that you were looking
Yes,
for.
yes,
But I want to
indeed.
thank you for what you do in the community. You're a big voice too. And
trying.
if I can be a mentor to you and anybody else
Yes,
listening,
yes.
I'm sincerely offering that assistance.
This is the dear audience. This is an open invitation from Mayor Brenda Halloran. So you can approach her, you can ask her questions, and we can start creating this supportive community.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute joy.
Thank you for listening to Corporita Bonanza with Hanan Awaad. Catch our next episode on Thursday, and don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter at www.corporita.info to receive our articles to learn everything you need to pave your way to success.